Yes, people, welcome back to another show where we are going to discuss the rugby that took place this weekend. It was a mixed bag in terms of the results for some teams, but we are back at it again. And of course, this week the South African derbies did deliver, but there was lots of talking points. Andre Pollard versus Sasha, um, Hashim P, the Euro for the Lions. But discussing it all with me is the one, the only Hamish.
Yeah, two South African derbies, close games, and I do think that they weren't the highest scoring matches. Like everyone thought that they were going to be absolute try-fests for those games, but I do think there was plenty of entertainment there. A lot of knock-ons in that Stormers versus Bulls game. That was a bit of an intriguing one, but I think it was just that physicality. And yeah, in the end, Stormers and the Lions, the two victorious South African sides for the weekend.
Yeah, the Stormers and the Lions coming out on top, and there are the is two teams on the log for South Africa. So in terms of that, it makes sense. Probably not in terms of the amount of Springboks they have. It doesn't make totally sense, but makes sense in terms of the log. So yeah, but let's then get started with my Bulls. We do lose again, unfortunately, but I felt like we saw improvement. Um, but have to give credit to the Stormers. They did show that mentality, that grit to get over the line. But let's start then with the Bulls. For me, I felt like coming into this game, I didn't expect us to win this game. If we played like that at Loftus, we probably could have gotten a win. I feel like, but away at Cape Town, it's always going to be tough. We don't have a good record against them, even at home. Never mind away. But I feel like our defense improved massively. I know pre-match what Jan Ackerman said they can go and try and find the Springbok coaches there at the training ground, but I don't know if the defense can improve that much just over a few Zoom calls, but maybe that was the case. It's gonna be interesting to see, but defensively we were better. Um, Lineouts were better. Like we actually stopped driving most. Unfortunately, at the end we just couldn't stop that one. When we who scored that? I don't know if it was the first. I think it was the second one that they scored the try from. I believe, or was it? No, the second one where they got close, but we almost saw that one. But we defended the most really well, to be honest. Um, the attacking shape was a bit all over the place, but that was for the Stormers as well. Like they had so many chances to score, where if they just made the right decision or made a good pass and not pass it behind the whole attack, then it probably would have they would have scored more tries. But um, I was very impressed with what we showed, and it felt like in that after the Sharks game, it felt like the end of the Jon Ackerman era almost. It felt like the end. I don't know how you saw it, but now this weekend after that, it feels like a new beginning. Okay, there's something to work with because that was our best performance of the season. It's the what do you call it? Least amount of points we've conceded all in an entire game this season. It's the first time we probably conceded less than 20 points all season. It's the less amount of tries we've conceded all season. So Yeah, and if Andre Pollard maybe just had his kicking boots in, probably win that game. If you kicked over all the kicks, but you could say the same for Sasha with his kicks, but because he also missed two kicks, which would have been 4 points, so makes it what 17-8. So, but yeah, what did you think of the Bulls? We'll get on to the Stormers.
Well, first off, a comment like Andre Pollard needed his kicking boots is something that does not get said too often because normally he's slotting them over 90% of the time. But Sasha, he was struggling, and I think the wind was playing a little bit of a factor, the way that both men were kicking, but definitely not the normal Pollard type of performance that we're used to seeing. I do think that the Bulls had a few positives, though, in terms of certain players. Someone like a Yandre Rudolph, I actually thought he was going to get man of the match in the end because of that work that he was doing in the breakdowns. I always
Same.
say it, he seems like a player would just absolutely throw everything into everything that he does out there on the field. And yes, he'll get penalised, but you can expect that when you're going at full on physicality the whole time. I thought that Ambrose Papia, he had a pretty solid game after a bit of a shaky one just last week in regards of him and Pollard. The combination wasn't quite working, but this time seemed to be a lot more strong. But yeah, for the Bulls defensively, they did very well because we've got to remember this is a Stormers side that have been scoring bonus point after bonus point and a whole heap of tries up against pretty much everyone that they've been playing. So, to only lose by 5 away from home in Cape Town, if you had to say to the Bulls side you were going to lose, like they'd probably say that's not a bad scoreline. Only conceding the 13 points. I do think there were a couple worrying signs for them though. And one of them kind of came in the form of a player who does get a lot of stick and does love a cross kick. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about for that one.
Oh yeah.
Why do these teams keep going for cross
Uh,
kicks in the 79th or 80th minute? I have no idea. How many of them are actually winning the games from doing it? I swear
uh,
it's like maybe 10% this season at the moment.
so of what I can remember, we saw the Saracens do it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Cardiff do it, and now I've seen the Bulls do it. Because Cardiff done it up against Scarlets, which was about 2 weeks ago now. So honestly, I, because we had men there, like just make a long pass. There's no need, like
Mm-hmm.
no
Yep.
need for it. Like if it came off, that's probably try of the season, like moment of the season for the Bulls. But
But the fact that we had seen so many people already booting the ball into touch on the full from misreading kicks and so many kicks at the posts missing as
yeah,
well, like it was always going to be a low percentage chance that it was going to pay off. And I feel
mm,
like for Villy LaRue, he wanted that redemption because of the fact that he got the yellow card earlier on in the game. Like he wanted
mhm.
that big moment that kind of solidified him in the side. But I feel like he probably created more doubters from deciding to do it. Like, at least wait till you have the advantage. And then worst comes to worst, like
Yeah,
Saracens, you go for it, it doesn't work out, and then you kick for the corner, lose the ball, and lose the game. But in this case, we didn't get to see that. Instead, it was just all over straight away. And like the Stormers, they would have been confused, but they would have been very happy because they didn't have to defend that last play from a
yeah,
side that are dangerous on attack, even though they've only scored one try across about 240 minutes of rugby. They're still going,
mm,
like, they look like they should be scoring more now, I would say, and
yeah,
hopefully we see that in the near future.
yeah. I don't know, that a stupid mistake. But yeah, I got messages from Stormers fans that were like, Villy, my goat," and so yeah, just stupid decision. But yeah, I feel like overall, it's one of those games where on another day we win that game if kicks goes our way, decision, some 50-50 calls goes our way. but the performance, that's a performance you want to see.
Yeah.
Um, so you take the performance, take confidence in the performance. Just say next time when we at that time we win. But I have to give credit to the Stormers. I feel like scrum time they did really well. Mm, Um, Jan-Hendrik Wessels may maybe needs 9 more weeks to fix his scrumming. I take 9 weeks off again to fix his scrumming because he got destroyed at scrum time. I felt like when he came on, but Sasha, uh, he didn't look his natural self. I don't know if it was the pressure or what, but I think this game the Stormers will take the win and they will learn from this because it's the second week they probably haven't played up to the standards we've seen them this season, but they have won. They did get the win, and that's the most important thing for them. Um, so yeah, but I feel like defensively they done really well as well. So they're gonna take it, and their maul is very good. I believe they're now the best mauling team in the URC, maybe in the whole world of rugby. I believe so. So yeah, credit to the Stormers. They showed grit. They showed that mentality. Yeah.
I don't
but
know if that was my turn or not, but I would say that the big thing for the Bulls at the moment is probably also that discipline. You know, heading into the later stages of the game, that was when they lost all sorts of momentum because it was just repeat infringement after infringement, and that gave a lot of unnecessary meters to the Stormers. We saw those mistakes of both sides missing touch. So there were moments that they probably could have really got something going, and sometimes it was just that last pass again, just not being held by a Bull side that have a few Springboks in there, but their handling was just shocking throughout moments in this game. But the good news for them was the Stormers at times were just as bad, so it kind of evened out to be
yeah.
a really close north-south derby in the end,
Mm,
which like I think even afterwards we did hear the captains kind of say, look, it probably wasn't the cleanest looking game, but like there was still a sellout crowd for it. It was a
mm,
big atmosphere for the contest, and hopefully they can sell out the other game that has taken place at Loftus. Will be taking place during
mm,
the Six Nations rematch. Hopefully
mm,
it's kind of just as close. But then by then the Bulls might find their rhythm, and maybe the
mm,
Stormers they
Funny.
could be on the decline. Although at the moment it doesn't look too likely.
Mm. Yeah, but hopefully we on the up by then. Um, but I just love it how these sides need us to fill up their stadiums. Like it just shows how big of a union we are. So yeah,
I think it could
that,
be because of the fact that they're on such a long losing streak that everyone wants to be there for the first game that they actually win.
maybe. So yeah, that's the case. But yeah, just quickly the Springbok Mobi-Unit and all the coaches joining. What do you make of it all?
It will certainly be interesting to see if it works. But the thing is, it's not going to change things just instantly. You know, like this game coming up against Bristol, I think it's the perfect game for the Bulls to get some winning momentum because you're not going away from home for this game. You're literally at Loftus. So that will mean, hopefully, that they can start finding a little bit of momentum in their favour. I think they've got an away game the next week of the Champions Cup. I'm just going to have a
Yes,
quick look and see who that's actually against
France
for
away.
the
Oh,
Bulls. Yeah, up against Pole. So that's a bit of an unknown game for me because they're actually a pretty handy side. You know, they're currently sitting second in the top 14, which I think surprises a lot of people when you mention it because like they're
but
kind of a side that's come from nowhere over the last
mm,
1 or 2 seasons and just had that kind of
but
historical
then
massive
When you
upwards.
look at the Champions Cup record, they rock bottom in
Yeah.
the Champions
So,
Cup. So
so they obviously, at this stage, you'd think are a little bit more focused on the top 14. So that's got to benefit the Bulls as well. You know, you could be looking at a 2-match winning streak heading into that next round of the URC, but then they're up against Edinburgh in Edinburgh, so that's not easy. So they've got potential if they can just find their rhythm with this new coaching group involved. Find yourself on a 3 or 4 match winning streak. Start building back towards that top 8. Currently in 11th, which is something that we're just not used to seeing for this Bull side. Normally, if they're outside of the top 4, people start getting a bit concerned, but there's still time. That's the best thing about it.
yeah,
Champions Cup as well as URC, they have time to turn it around. It just won't happen overnight. It's going to take a bit of time.
yeah, no, it definitely will take a bit of time, but yeah, I think improvements, and let's see what they do. I think it was the right decision to get them in because it was clear that something needed to happen about So yeah, we'll move on to the Lions. Hashim the under 20 Springbok, one set for the Lions. For me, the Sharks lost this game. Like Jordan Hendricks didn't converted only one of the 4 tries. They didn't go for the post with 5 minutes left in front of it in the 22 of the Lions were conceding penalty after penalty. So it feels like more the Sharks threw this game away than the Lions were winning it. Because the Lions basically almost gave the Sharks this game because they were 15-0 up in the first, 15 minutes they were 15-0 up? So
Yep.
first 10 minutes basically. And then they just never scored points almost again. So that last minute try from Hashim. But yeah, I think credit has to be given to the Lions for holding out so long, especially that defense towards the end, because the second half the Sharks were just going all at it. They just couldn't break down the defense of the Lions. So yeah, I think credit has to be given towards the Lions for their defense and just being a thorn and staying in there. The Sharks, like I say, they're consistently inconsistent. They win a game, and you're thinking, okay, they showed some promise in that game, and then the next game, it all goes to waste again. So yeah, but what did you make of it all?
I think for the Lions to get the win there, it was huge for them, mainly because, if you start off with that 15-0 lead, with the opposition just slowly getting back into the game, like that can sometimes absolutely break a side. And for the Lions, at times they looked a little bit lost after that comeback of the Sharks had begun, but to be able to do it in Durban as well, I think is absolutely huge for this Lions side because going into that game, the Lions seem to be a team that people say, oh, if they play badly, they'll lose by like 20. But they didn't do that in this game. They started off quick. They were definitely lacking in terms of Springbok numbers across their side, but they weren't lacking the heart. They just kept on trying to get into it. Second half was extremely frustrating to watch with the amount of drop balls that were happening throughout that game. It just seemed to be every single phase seemed to have some sort of problem arising, but a very close finish. And it was kind of nice for the Lions because we've got to remember this was that Curry Cup final. And then the Lions had the game secured. They kind of threw it away and the Sharks won that competition. So I feel like that was a little bit of their get back with how they played here. But now they're in a decent position on the table and they're starting to look like that underdog South African side that may just about be able to make it to the top 8. They've always been so close, narrowly missing out. But I don't think I want to play the Lions at home in terms of, let's just say, for instance, I don't know who it's going to be at the moment. There's quite a few sides all jockeying for that spot, but having the Lions come to whatever the stadium is, they actually look more dangerous, I think, away from home than they do at their home stadium at the moment. They seem to just thrive off that, not so much hostile environment of an away crowd, but they just seem to want it that little bit more. But who knows? Maybe they go into their next game, they've got it in the Challenge Cup, and they could struggle. It's a very unpredictable Lions team as well.
Yeah, it is. They're also consistently inconsistent almost. But they are ahead of the pack in terms of the URC. We'll get to the URC table, but it's effectively the top six has basically been confirmed almost, if you look at it all. Because the gap between six, which is Munster, and seventh, that is the Lions, it's a 9-point gap. So it's effectively you're looking at your 7th and 8th spot, who's gonna be those two teams that's gonna get it. So, but at this stage they're in a very good position. The only teams that could overtake them in the when they play up against Ospreys in the URC next is maybe Edinburgh. If Edinburgh do win up against the Bulls with a bonus point and the Lions get nothing, then they can overtake them. But Benetton Ospreys is the Lions, so it's very tight. So yeah, but the Sharks, so they won 2 games in a row at home. Now losing that one, they go away to Sale, then back at home against Clermont, and then of course that big Summer Sharks derby. So where did they go from here on in? Do you go with the same and just maybe tweak a few things, or what's the plan for the Sharks, do you think?
Well, I've got to get some wins. That's the main one. At the moment, in their Champions Cup group, it seems to be as long as Clermont lose at home up against Glasgow, it means that the top 5's kind of confirmed. In which case, worst comes to worst, Sharks could end up in the Challenge Cup rather than the Champions Cup. But, of course, that round of 16, it's getting closer. I would like to think that they can get themselves one win out of their 2 last games of the Champions Cup. They are playing Clermont in South Africa as their last match, but before that, they've got Sale in England. URC-wise, there's that Stormers derby that they have the repeat fixture of the week after. Like, they've got a lot of games up against South African teams throughout the next couple months. So, for one, you just can't afford to...
Yeah, the 4 next games are the South African team. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, you're pretty much in that scenario. You can't drop more than, I'd say, 10 times throughout a game, which they have been lately. They've been dropping the ball flat out with such world-class players. But Siuk Kolisi, he's been going good. I feel like he's been a bit of a shining light in the Sharks side. But the sad thing is, he's soon to go to the Stormers.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects the squad towards the end of the campaign, especially if results don't go their way. But yeah, with the Sharks, they've got the Stormers back to back. Then there's like the Six Nations break, I think. Then the Sharks the Lion. Then they've got Lions away, Bulls away, and Munster at home. So they've got 5 tough games. That's basically 5 very tough games.
And I feel like looking at where they are on the table with the fact that they're 14th, they really needed to be 9th or 8th or somewhere around there at this point in time, I think, to have a really good shot of making it to the quarterfinals. I just don't know if they've got enough games left and enough in the tank to be able to actually get there now. which is tricky because, once again, you're looking at a side that you would think on paper should be any club side around the world. But they have really struggled. They've only got themselves 2 wins, 5 losses, and that draw early on in the season. I believe that was up against the Dragons or Scarlets. It was one of the two. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of work to be done. But they're still doing some things right. That's the tricky thing. Every once in a while, you see a moment and you're like, wow, Sharks are back. And then the next moment, they drop the ball. And it's sad.
It is. It is. But hopefully, for both the Lions and the Sharks, they do well in Europe. Because I feel like the Lions, let's just have a quick look. Challenge Cup. Challenge Cup wise, where are they in their group? So Lions is at bottom, but they do play up against Lyon, who are also bottom their group. And
we've got to remember for the Challenge Cup as well, it's only the top 4 that get to go through. So in the case of the champions, of course, if you're in 5th place, you still go through the Challenge Cup. If you are outside of that top 4, you're gone. So the Lions really do need at least 1 win. And that has to be, I would say, a pretty comfortable win too. So if it's going to be up against Lyon or if it's going to be up against, I believe they've got their game the week after in France, that will be tricky to do. But if anyone's going to be able to cause a random upset in France, it just seems like it could be the Lions, you know?
Yeah.
Why not? They've got the tools. It's just whether or not they do it.
So Penningham got Newcastle away. Dragons got Benetton away. Dragons are 4th with 4 points. So if the Lions just win and just hope like Benetton can do themselves a favor, then they could be there, and then it could come down to that last weekend in France. Penningham up against the Lions away in France. Who gets that spot? So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So good luck to them. Let's then have a look at the URC games. Let me share the screen. So it started off on Thursday with the Welsh sides going head to head. The Dragons with a comfortable win up against Scarlet. Very comfortable for the Dragons. They played really good rugby. I think the Dragons right now I think at home they're gonna be unstoppable right now if you play them at home with the way they are playing. Because it seems just like they've got an extra physicality, like they've upped the physicality, they've upped the tempo. So yeah, but the Ospreys went big up against Cardiff. Cardiff yet again lose a Welsh derby. That's a 2 out of 3 that they did lose. The only one coming up against the Dragons. But that game, you could argue they should have also lost because the Dragons, I believe, had a few opportunities at the post as well that they did not take. So, and that was only a 3-point one. So Cardiff, although they're doing well in terms of the league and the other results, they're not doing well up against the other Welsh sides, and that's gonna be a big thing, especially with one of the teams being basically ending in a way from Welsh Rugby Union. So yeah, but what do you make of the Welsh clashes?
They've been great games of rugby to watch, to be fair. Like I'd say that these two were the more one-sided games that we've seen. But like, you know, the week prior, Cardiff versus Dragons being 22 points to 19. Scarlets versus Ospreys, that was 19-26. It's there in the middle. But you just wonder, like, I feel like a few of these guys are earning their contracts if sides are getting combined or if sides getting removed. Like I think we're going to see a few of the guys on that removed side picked up by these other Welsh teams. But it's just a question of how much will it impact them as a whole. Of course, the Six Nations coming up in the near future. People want to see Wales get at least one upset somewhere along the lines. And, you know, some of these guys are playing good enough rugby that maybe that can be an option. Maybe. It's probably going to be very tough though. But like, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the derbies just in general. I was going to say just the Welsh ones, but no, the Irish ones have been good. Even the Italian derbies between Zebra and Benetton, they've been pretty entertaining games as well. And I feel like just around that Christmas period, it's that perfect time to have these type of matches just to try and get people lured in and rearing to go for the rest of the season because we're pretty much halfway through at this point in time. So there's still a lot that can change. But for some of those lower sides, you know, you're starting to get a little bit closer to some big concern of the potential of missing out now.
Yeah, no, it is. Ulster versus Munster. Big blowout by Ulster, but against a relatively B team of Munster, BC team, and a very strong Ulster side. But Ulster, what now? Currently third, I believe. So they're only 5 points away with a game in hand. The Stormers, I know, also have a game in hand, but Ulster could maybe be first in a couple of weeks if they do win that game in hand.
I'm just looking through. They still have to play, Ulster versus Stormers 9th of May, and it's in Ulster.
Oh, that might be the side who's first, but Glasgow also up there. So, but that's gonna be big. That's gonna be a big game. But fair play to Ulster. I, I predicted them to win on Super Brew, just didn't go their way. For Munster, and luckily for me, Ulster did win. So thank you, Ulster. Uh, and then Benetton up against Edinburgh. Benetton went 15 points to nil down, came back, made 14-15, and they almost scored a try at the end, but they knocked it on knock-ons galore for Benetton, but they showed some fight back, but very poor from Benetton. Because for Edinburgh to win away from home, I know they've been close at times, winning away from home. I believe they lost to Zebra by like 3 points. They lost to Munster by 1 point. So there's been close when they lose away from home. But they finally get a away win. So fair play to Edinburgh.
And they are another team that I think go under the radar a little bit in terms of the skill level that they've got. They actually did really well last year. And I want to say it was the Challenge Cup. They made it quite deep in that competition. But, I feel like they are another side that maybe, like, they lurk around that 10th place, but they're good enough, I believe, to beat actually anyone in that top 8 on their given day. They just, they're stacked with talent. They've got a huge amount of players that can make a real difference, but it's just whether or not they get it right. And I feel like that was one of those games they didn't get it right completely, but they still got it right enough to get that 1 point victory.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did. And then the two biggest scores of the weekend, blowouts. Leinster, 52 points to 17 up against Connacht. Glasgow, 47 points to 10. To be fair to Zebra, it was only in the last 5-8 minutes that Glasgow did score like 3 tries. So it was relatively close. I think it was about 16 points. This with about 10 minutes to go. And then Glasgow went on to score 3 tries. and yeah. So unlucky for Tobrek, but at least they're not in the position the Scarlets are because at least I have got some ones. Those ones early on in the season have really helped Zebre in terms of where they are on the table, that they're not rock bottom. Leinster, I don't know if it's might be a turning point in the season in terms of performances because they have gotten the wins, but hasn't been that stellar performance. And I don't know if the win up against Munster has given them now a bit more confidence that they're now gonna go on a run.
Yeah, see, they're in fifth at the moment on the overall standings, but one more win could potentially actually boost them right up into second, depending on some of those other results. So for Leinster, I think that any side don't probably want them in the top four because you don't want to play them at home in those playoff matches, but their chances of finishing with a home semi or even potentially a home final is still actually on the cards. And that's a dangerous game because Leinster, of course, in playoff rugby, they haven't had the best record, but last year they showed that they do have the ability to go all the way. I have a little bit of a question for you. Looking through at the table at the moment, of course, we're about halfway through the season. I want to know, in terms of those sides outside of, we'll go below the Bulls, 11th and below. Who out of those sides at the moment do you feel has a really good shot of making it up to the quarterfinals or at least making it to the top eight? Or do you think they're all almost done and dusted? Who's going to make that late surge towards the title?
Okay. So who's basically gonna get from us and below gonna maybe sneak into eighth? I think we probably gonna feel like we. Well, it depends on how we perform this weekend, but I feel like we can get up there.
Yeah.
Then Connacht. What's Connacht's fixtures like? Because I think they have to play a few. They've got Leinster, Ulster, Stormers. Yeah,
They got a
Connacht
pretty
won't
tough
make
road.
it. Connacht won't make it. I don't think the Sharks will make it. They've got a tough run as well. Like their next 5 URC games, I think are gonna cancel them out.
Yeah.
The Dragons could. Let's have a look at their fixtures. So they've got Munster away, Ospreys away, Benetton. They could make it, but I think the Dragons just have a little. I don't think they have enough in the tank. The Dragons. Um. So I think the Bulls, Dragons, then what's Edinburgh's fixtures like? They've got Bulls, Leinster, Lions, yeah,
Actually,
Sharks,
they seem to have a really mix. Although I think they
yeah,
play
mix,
everyone inside of about the bottom five at the moment, by the
yeah,
looks of that. So that would, in my opinion, give them a pretty decent chance of
yeah,
boosting up quite nicely.
yeah, yeah. We got Edinburgh. Where's the table? Edinburgh, Ospreys. Feel like they might be a bit too inconsistent, but to be fair to them, they don't have mad difficult games. And they're playing the right sides at home. That's the thing. But I don't think the Ospreys will make it. And then Benetton and Lions. I think those are the four: Bulls, Dragons, Ospreys, Benetton, Lions. But let's have a look at the Benetton games. Cardiff at home. Ooh. Actually, no. You know what? No. Don't think Benetton make it.
They are the team at the moment for me that might miss out. I just feel like they haven't done enough in the early stages. Even though they're sitting 4 wins, 5 losses, there's just
Yeah.
been a few games that they've, in my opinion, slightly thrown away. Just
I
that
just
little
think
bit.
their fixtures are too tough.
Mm.
Like they're playing the right sides at home, your tough sides, but they've got Sharks away, Bulls away, Dragons away. That's all. That's gonna be tough. Playing like if they are gonna win, it's gonna come. If they are gonna make top 8, it's gonna come from this batch.
Yeah, and the thing is, the
Ostrich at home,
Bulls,
Glasgow
Edinburgh,
away.
Connacht, Sharks, they all have that extra game over someone
Mm,
like a Benetton still up their sleeve.
mm. I
It's
don't
tricky.
think
I feel
Benetton
like
will
even
make
with
it.
3 rounds left, we're not going to be able to predict who's actually going to make it,
Mm.
which is good. It's exciting.
Lions. To be fair, the Lions have a good. Like, if the Lions are gonna make it, it's gonna come from this.
A lot of
Edinburgh at home,
home
Dragons
games.
at home, Glasgow, Connacht. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say that Lions Edinburgh game that has taken
That's
place in South Africa, I think whoever wins that gets in the top 8. And then the other spot, I think the Bulls should still have enough ability to sneak in there ahead of Benetton.
Yeah, I think Dragons, Bulls, Lions, and you can pick and choose between Benetton and Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So I think the Lions and the Bulls make it. I think Lions, Bulls make it. The big problem for the Lions, and I think for Benetton, are that they have to go away from home in those final 2 games. That's the
Yeah.
big thing. So yeah, I don't think Benetton make the top 8. I think top 6 are basically sorted. It's just the order of it
Mm-hmm.
because 9 point gap. It's pretty much over for anyone that wants to get into top 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, but let's quickly have a look at the Champions Cup games. Just quickly have a look. So let's go to the website. Here we have it. So Castres play up against Bath. Let me just get the tables up on a different tab. So Castres against Bath, that's a top of the table clash. But this group is pretty tight because each team has 5 points and Bath have 6 points. Edinburgh has 5, Gloucester have 5. So I feel like this weekend is the deciding weekend for the pool. Because if you win this weekend, you basically confirm in getting top 4.
Yeah.
Castres Bath prediction.
It's a tricky one. I think that Bath are a good enough side to get the away win. And honestly, in that group, if anyone was going to get the away win, it would be them. But I'll go Bath by 5. I think it will be a close game, but to me, they are a side that should be through to that next stage. So I'll chuck them in, see what happens.
I think Castres. I think Castres won, but Bath get a bonus point.
Okay.
Edinburgh Gloucester. Who did Gloucester play at the weekend? Gloucester. They lost up against Newcastle. So Newcastle got their first win against Gloucester. You know what? Let's go Edinburgh to win. Back to your C team. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they've got a decent shot. I think that home field advantage for Edinburgh seems to do quite a bit for them. We actually saw that in I believe it was the Challenge Cup last year that they really started finding momentum. So I'll go a narrow victory as well. I don't think we're going to see many one-sided affairs across this round. For some reason, I feel like everyone's starting to tighten up a little bit and make sure that they're at least getting that losing bonus point for within 7. And I think it could lead to some very good rugby throughout this round.
Yeah. Then you've got Bulls against Bristol. Bulls need to win. If they don't win, they out. But they do have Bristol, and Bristol have won 2 of their games. But who did they play? They played Scarlet and Pearl. They haven't played the toughest of games.
No.
Haven't played your what is it now? They didn't play the what is Champions Cup? Yeah, they didn't play Bordeaux or Northampton. They basically played the lesser 2, Scarlet and Pearl. But we played Bordeaux and Northampton. So yeah, I back us to win that game up against Bristol.
I think that for the sake of the Bull supporters, and I assume it's going to be a sold-out stadium because you said that is what happens, I'm going to say that the Bulls do get themselves the win. They break the streak because it's been a while. But they do need a win soon or else then it's getting to a really bad stage.
Yeah.
That would be nice to start the new year, other than, of course, that recent game, but start the new year in the right direction and slowly build from there.
In Pool 1, we've got Clermont against Glasgow. Clermont.
That's a tricky one.
Who did Clermont? Clermont this weekend played up against Montauban. They won that game away from home. So they currently set. But it depends the team that Glasgow sent because they. To be fair, I think Glasgow won.
Yeah, I'm undecided because Clermont, it depends on what kind of team they throw out there, and a little bit the same with Glasgow as well. They're in a good enough position in their table that they are pretty secure, but they've got 2 bonus points, so they may look to continue to push towards that full available pointage just to try and get that home final later on. But once again, I don't think it's going to be split by a lot. I think that Clermont in front of the home crowd as well for a French side, that is normally, an additional 15 points more than they get away from home. So I think it becomes a kind of 30-25-ish type of scoreline, and I'll go in favour of Glasgow, but could go the other way.
And then Leinster up against La Rochelle.
That's a game that I really want to watch, but it overlaps with that next one. Sale Sharks versus the other Sharks.
So Sharks versus Sharks.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun to commentate, isn't
it? To be fair, I think Leinster won. That one.
Yep.
Sale Sharks, I think Sale won that one. I think at home. They should win.
Yeah, see, they're an interesting side as well because they've been a little bit up and down. But I feel like the Sharks, they're in 5th at the moment and they may decide, look, we have to put our focus into the URC in the upcoming games. But also at the same time, you might as well try and get into the top 4 of the Challenge Cup because at the end of the day, they have won that championship before. So if they put a strong team out, I think that they win at the Sharks by a narrow margin, that being the Hollywood Bet Sharks. But if they go with a bit of a makeshift team, I think that Sale should take
it. Yeah. Scarlet up against Paul.
It's better with 2 sides that haven't shown us a huge amount so far throughout the comp. but Scarlets
Scarlet?
must be due for a win, surely, right?
Yeah, I think they should win. Like they beat Cardiff, lost to Dragons, but they should win. No, they beat Cardiff, lost to Ospreys and the Dragons, so should win this one at all. Haven't been at home in a while. Oh, have they? No, they have been. They have been. So they should win this one. But again, it depends on the team that Paul sends.
Yeah,
Because
because they
yeah,
may feel at this stage that there's no point risking injuries with where they sit in the top 14. So they
what's
might be happy enough missing out. Because at the end of the day, they also have that next game up against the Bulls away from home. So it doesn't actually get that easy for Pole. So the fact that they. Oh,
but
actually, though, they're in France for that game, aren't they? They get the home game.
yeah, they should.
So they
Oh,
may
our
target
second
it a little
country.
bit. Yeah, so they're going good in the top 14, but they're not going good in this comp. So I think that game for me, whoever loses that, is just completely out. But the other side could still also be out, or at least get demoted down to the Challenge Cup. But I think you've probably worked out by now I'm way too indecisive for predictions.
Okay, I
And
think
you
I'm
are
back.
frozen. Oh, yep, you are back. Yep. You're just giving me a stare for like a good 10 seconds.
I think I'm back. Yeah.
I think so. Maybe.
Okay. But what I was saying, Paul did are now second. They to lose out by a bonus point.
Hmm. Yeah, so
So,
if they're
but
targeting
I
the top
think
14, they may go experimental for that game.
yeah, played on the 21. So let's see. Then Leicester Tigers against Bayonne. Pool three in terms of this game. Pool three, both teams that haven't won a game. Both teams on 0 points. Um, both teams that might go experimental. In terms of top 14, Bayonne really in there for anything. They've set ninth. They could get like third and stuff if they go on a run. In terms of Leicester Tigers, where are they? Leicester Tigers, they are first in their pool, but they're above Saracens by quite a lot. So maybe, yeah, maybe they do win this. I'm gonna go Leicester just because home team.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are due for a win in this comp, and they haven't had the easiest games so far. So I feel like that's impacted how they've played a little bit. So far in the Champions Cup, they were up against, where is it? They had La Rochelle, but La Rochelle were at home for that game, losing 39 points to 20. And then also they had Leinster. So that's not very easy either. And they lost that game 23 points to 15. So they've lost to two sides that normally are up there in the competition. So give them an opposition that aren't top contenders and they probably will do very well. But
Yeah.
Bayonne are the type of side that could also cause a bit of an upset if needed. But I'll go the Tigers.
Mm. And then this Sunday, Stormers go away to Harlequins, and hopefully it's their first loss of the season. So yeah, probably these two games to Munster, Harlequins, Stormers. It's so stupid that they overlap
Yep.
because I feel like these two games could be probably game of the weekend. So I'm gonna back Harlequins. I don't know what you're gonna say.
I think that the Quins aren't at the moment the same team that they were last year or the year prior. And I think that there was even something recently that they let out like an apology to their supporters for their bad form that they've been having because they have been struggling. So I think the Stormers might be able to do it, unless, of course, this is the game that the Harlequins somehow turn it around. I do just think momentum-wise and the fact that the Stormers have been winning games away from home, they probably are going to get the job done again. For that Toulon versus Munster game, I feel like that one's got to be a draw, doesn't it? Even though Munster really butchered their game last week up against Ulster, we're due for a draw of some sort, and I feel like that Toulon-Munster game has potential of that, but at the same time, Munster may lose by 15 based off what they did in their last game. But then, of course, a little bit of experimentation there.
I feel. I think to. I think Munster are the type of team to win that game.
Okay.
I think Munster won it. I think they're the team to win that one. Bordeaux against Northampton. Rematch of the final. I'm backing Bordeaux. Come on, Bordeaux.
It's going to be a really good game. Like the Saints, ever since that game that they won up against Leinster in Ireland, I feel like they showed that they have got that away grit that you need in this type of competition. But I do think that Bordeaux's backline is just insane with the fact that they have got Biel Biarre alongside Damien Pinot in there. Like, they've got a great forward pack too. So, yeah, I'm going narrow victory for Bordeaux. But at the same time, they could also come out absolutely firing and win that game by like 20 or so points. That's, could be a good one.
Saracens against Toulouse. I'm going to pick Toulouse to win that. But again, it depends. Maybe they do send but they need to win, so I think they send a strong enough team to lose.
Yeah, see, Saracens are good at home sometimes. There's so many tough matchups this weekend.
Yeah.
And I do feel like normally it's a little bit easier to decide, but for an indecisive bloke like me, this is impossible to be able to pick a side to win these games. I'll go Saracens at home, but if they try a bloody cross kick, they deserve to lose.
Another cross kick. But this game is Willis against Willis. I believe the two brothers facing off.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, Challenge Cup, we'll just have a quick look at that. Just scan through it, see if there's any tasty games. Challenge Cup. Because I feel like Challenge Cup, the home teams usually win. Challenge Cup.
Yeah, I think the intriguing part of the Challenge Cup is when we see these sides from the Champions Cup get thrown in there. That's when it always starts to heat up that little bit more. Could be intriguing.
Let's see. It's gonna load and get me into the games. There we go. Okay, but yeah, while it loads, it's taking forever. Who do you think is favorite to win the Challenge Cup out of like the teams that I've been playing in?
So, of course, someone from the Champions Cup probably has a good chance of winning the whole thing. But of the teams currently in the competition, I'd probably go Montpellier. I think that they are probably the favourite for me, but I do still think there's a lot that can change in that competition. And once again, you get a side, let's say, for instance, maybe a side like the Sharks get thrown in there and start to find a little bit of form. That gets a lot more challenging for the other sides. But home finals are massive in the comp, and I think everyone will be aiming for that. I think there's only, I want to say, 4 undefeated sides, or maybe 5 at this stage of the competition.
So we've got Stade de France and Exeter, that's unbeaten. Newcastle's unbeaten. Benetton's unbeaten. Montpellier's unbeaten. Ospreys are unbeaten. So Ospreys, Montpellier, Benetton, Newcastle, Stade de France. So 5 teams. So and Exeter, 6 teams. I think the Stade de France should win up against Exeter. I think they should. What do you think?
Maybe. I think Exeter's draw was a really intriguing game, and honestly, for me, it was one of the most intense games that we've seen of the Challenge Cup so far. But it's I think Stade Francais having the home field advantage probably gets them over the line, but at the same time, Exeter seem to not mind if they're at home or away. If they feel like winning, they will try very hard and get close often, but I'll go Stade Francais just, but it's hard to say.
It's hard, yeah. Pick and choose which team is worth out of these guys. Back the home team just because they're at home.
It seems to be our prediction kind of criteria, isn't it? Just if we don't know who's going to win it, home side, that'll do.
Home side, yeah. Newcastle against Birmingham. This should be a
home
good
side.
Game. Yeah, English. Ooh. And Newcastle won their first Premiership game on Friday, so they're gonna be in a bit of confidence. So should we just go home side?
Home sides. That's the easy choice. Although to be fair, once again, upset could happen. But I think the Newcastle, their win up against the Lions probably boosted their confidence quite a bit because of the fact that for a lot of that game it looked like they weren't going to find a way back into it to then still be able to get the win in the last moment.
Then Lions against Lyon. Home team.
Lyon, they're a tricky one though. But I'd like to see the Lions back up what they've just done in their game up against the Sharks and show that they have got a little bit of form starting to build. So I'll go home too.
Well, Lyon did beat Paul on the weekend at home, so that's a massive result for them. And top 14 wise, they are Lyon. They 12, but they massively ahead of Penningham and Montauban. So they've won 6 games all season, so not too bad off. So could be tight, but I think the Lions won at home. Okay. Cardiff against Racing. This could be a very good game. You know what? I think Racing might sneak it.
Yeah, I've had a real mix in the top 14. I believe their last 2 games they've conceded 60 points. Oh no, sorry, they conceded 60. The week prior they scored 60. So bit of a tough one to judge. They had 2 draws in a row, which is something you don't see too often for sides. But it seems to be they either score close to 50 or they concede close to 50. So, you know what? I'm going to draw just because they've had so many of them. They're getting good at them.
Draws, fair enough. I'll go Racing one. Well, then again, it could be a Cardiff one. Benetton Dragons. One team won, one team lost up again in the URC. Can the Dragons finally win away from home? You know what? I backed the Dragons so many times. Let's go with the Dragons.
Okay. I'll go Benetton just because I feel like they'll know that they're starting to go a little bit further down the URC table. So this might be their competition to really get something going in. Definitely with the 2 wins so far. But I think a lot of these teams, you need to see their lineups to really know what their game plan is heading into these games, because this could be a game that we see Benetton actually go a little bit of a mixture so that they can rest some of those big players, be ready for that fourth round if they need it, or that URC that's coming around just in a few weeks' time too. So it's hard. It's too hard. It's difficult.
It is hard. Montpellier against Connacht.
Home team.
Home team. We back the home team. Yeah. Home team, yeah. Zebra Ospreys. Well,
That one might be away team, to be fair. Ospreys have gone all right in this competition.
but Zebra at home, though.
Yeah. I'm going Ospreys away from home.
I'll go Zebra at home.
Okay.
Cheetahs against Ulster in Amsterdam, I believe.
I'll go Ulster. I think Ulster have another win in them after that last week. Even with a bit of an experimental side, I just feel like they've got something about them at the moment.
Yeah, we'll
go
back
Ulster for that one.
Back Ulster as well, and that's the game as well. Not as yeah, but what's that pool saying in terms of, do I have that pool? Challenge Cup, here we go. So, but that's gonna be interesting. Pool 3. So Stade de France against Exeter, they playing each other. Stade de France are 10, Exeter on 8, Ulster on 7. So if Ulster beat the Cheetahs, they probably go into second, depending on what happens in that Stade de France Exeter game. Cardiff and Racing are both 4th and 5th with 2 points apart. So probably backing Cardiff. So the pool 3 of the Challenge Cup is quite interesting. But I think all the pools are quite interesting. The only one that isn't, you know what would be funny? Oh no, it's only the top 4. I thought the top 5 had go through. It would have been funny if the top 5 of the Challenge Cup went through. Currently, Monte Bine and Black Line are both set on 0. They play each other this weekend. If 5th place did go through, it would be very funny if those two teams draw this weekend and then it would go, and then they both did, then it would go on to points difference if 5th place did win through. So yeah, I feel like all the pools are still very much open in the Challenge Cup. So, but it's a very good weekend of European action. It's just they didn't pick quite the right timings for the games. Like Munster and the Stormers being at the same time, Sharks and Leinster being at the same time. Like, could have put one of them like the later game. Like, we wouldn't have minded. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Well, what all happens. So yeah, but thanks Amy for coming on once again. Appreciate it. Yeah, do let then people know where they can find you.
You can find me over on the Kiwi Lads. We recently started up the streaming for the year. Back into the action. There is plenty of it coming up with these Champions Cup games, as well as Six Nations Super Rugby, the lot, all coming up on the channel too. But yeah, I feel like there are a lot of games this weekend that my predictions were probably wrong. So come tell me how wrong I was, because I often am with the predictions. But we've gotten used to it.
Yeah. It's gonna be a very interesting weekend. So yeah, in terms of predictions, it's gonna be very hard. So yeah, but thanks for coming on as always. And hopefully my Bulls do get a win. I don't think we've done a show where the Bulls have won a game. So hopefully next week we can restart it all. And we start off with a win. But make sure you do like and subscribe. Go subscribe to Hamish Kiwi Lads. Then I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.